about Real World at that time. Who could have imagined that it was just the beginning, truly,
of a genre?
Of a genre.
Not me, because I would have said I need a piece of everybody coming after me.
Right. You were like, I would have been a reality TV agent.
Yes.
Something strange is happening with Tami Roman, and nobody's telling the full story. The woman who practically invented reality television has quietly started dismantling it from the inside, hinting that the betrayal we all saw on Basketball Wives was nothing compared to what really went down off camera. This isn't just another celebrity fallout or some petty feud between old castmates. It's the unraveling of a 30-year empire built on manipulation, editing, and silence. And the wildest part? It's Tami herself who's lighting the match, calm, calculated, and suddenly talking like someone who's been sitting on the industry's dirtiest secret for years.
In terms of that, and then after COVID, I got into, during COVID, I got a lot into we was doing State of the Culture, then I was hosting the Wendy show, and I just was doing so many other things that music kind of got pushed to the back. I was still recording music, still doing different things, like any given time, hitmakers like, yo, what we doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? I work on music, but it's just other things that kind of push it out the way a little bit, but don't be...
When Tami said, "I thought Shawnee and I were real friends," you could hear years of swallowed loyalty in her voice. To fans, they were inseparable, two women running the franchise together. But when she dropped that bomb about realizing there was no reciprocity, that was the first crack in the facade of Basketball Wives' unity. The friendship ended the way most reality friendships do, quietly, off camera, in the DMs, where seen turns into silence. We later found out why. According to people who were there, Tami wasn't just tired of drama, she was tired of being set up. She says producers edited out everything that made her co-star Kesha look bad because, get this, Kesha was allegedly dating one of the show's producers. The cameras rolled, the scene went viral, and Tami's image took the hit. Meanwhile, Shawnee stayed neutral, or at least pretended to. That's when the loyalty ended and the villain narrative began. It's poetic in a cruel way. The woman who helped invent reality TV's realness was destroyed by its fakest parts. We all remember Tahiti, the purse, the yelling, the social media storm. But what most people didn't see was the setup. Insiders claim the producers were desperate that week. No one wanted to film, no one wanted to fight, and the network needed an episode. So they whispered, stirred, and let the cameras roll. Kesha left her purse behind. Tami picked it up. The argument was real, but the villainy wasn't. They cut the parts that showed context, kept the ones that would trend, and overnight, Tami went from survivor to angry woman stereotype. You'd think that after 10 years of playing the game, she'd know better. But even now, she says, "I gave them something real. They turned it into fiction." And here's the kicker. She's not even mad anymore. Just done.
A great reality star.
You've got to be truthful.
Really?
And I think you have to be transparent and vulnerable and open. And I think the tides have shifted, right? When we started in '93, that's what we were doing. We were being our authentic selves.
Right.
Now people come on because they want to have their 15. So.
The internet never really let her forget it. Every clip, every meme, every purse snatch joke followed her for years. But if you watch closely, that's when her exit started. The fake reunion invites, the group trips that suddenly didn't include her, all the quiet signs that production had moved on to a new target. Tami stopped showing up. Literally. She didn't even attend the reunion. When fans asked why, she said she didn't want to argue with people who didn't like her in real life. Translation? The entire cast had turned into co-workers. Shawnee, the woman she thought was a friend, hadn't called her once since she left the show. Malaysia was reduced to likes and emojis. The only real bond she kept was with OG, one of the few who saw through the manipulation. Everyone else? "Ain't no need to have an issue now," she said on Instagram Live, her voice steady, detached, the sound of someone closing the door for good. But you can't talk about betrayal without talking about survival. And if there's one thing Tami Roman does better than anyone, it's turn humiliation into currency.
What do you still find rewarding about it?
Specifically with Caught in the Act, I think we're always leveling up.
Right.
So now that you've seen my life, you've seen me with my children, you've seen me elevate, how can I now transition to helping others do the same?
After leaving Basketball Wives, she didn't crawl away. She diversified. Acting, producing, hosting. The woman's resume looks like she cloned herself. She's got a series regular role on BET Plus's The M's Pat Show. She's running her own scripted drama, House of Vicious. And she's the host and consulting producer of MTV's Caught in the Act, Unfaithful, a cheating confrontation show that's basically therapy wrapped in chaos. When the cameras follow Tami now, it's not to catch her fighting. It's to watch her guide other women through the same kind of betrayal that once defined her. "If you judge, you can't help," she says. And for once, it's not a catchphrase. It's lived experience. Still, the irony isn't lost on anyone. The woman who was edited into America's favorite aggressor is now counseling people on how to heal from emotional deceit. And maybe that's the point.
Are you getting some professional help, Tami?
I was diagnosed in 2008. I had to go to therapy, and anybody that has this disorder has to go to behavioral therapy because they have to unlearn things that they've been channeling within their mind and convincing themselves of however long they've been dealing with the disease, with the disorder.
On Unfaithful, Tami sits across from women whose partners are cheating, and you can see it. That moment when she recognizes the pain. She leans in, not for drama, but for understanding. That's the twist. The same intensity that made her reality TV gold now makes her believable as a guide. Because she's been humiliated publicly, betrayed privately, and still somehow built an empire from it. It's almost cinematic. The villain turned savior. The audience eats it up, not because it's perfect, but because it feels earned. But let's not pretend the glow-up erased the scars. Tami's still wrestling demons that fame made worse. Her battle with body dysmorphia isn't gossip. It's documented, raw, and heartbreaking. She said it herself. I always feel like I'm overweight. This from a woman whose visible collarbones spark internet concern every few months. She was diagnosed with the disorder in 2008, but it started way before that. Back when she was 13, a modeling agent tore her apart in front of a mirror, listing imaginary flaws like it was a checklist. You've got folds, your chin's wrong, your knees are fat. That kind of humiliation rewires a person. Decades later, even after success, the reflection still lies to her. She says when people comment that she's too thin, she takes it as a compliment. Imagine living in a world where the concern that you're disappearing is mistaken for praise. That's what this disorder does. And just when she seemed to have it managed, social media made it worse.
Let me be clear. You're not hurt by the comments. You're more like your
I'm
brain.
like, you think? I'm a bobblehead? My legs are, I look frail. It's so warped that what you guys feel I look like or what you see is not what I see.
Every time she posts, strangers diagnose her, drag her, or demand she eat something. The comments flood in, and Tami, ever the performer, laughs it off. But you can hear the exhaustion between the words. Her husband, Reggie Youngblood, tries to buffer it. He cooks for her, checks on her, keeps her grounded. He's 17 years younger, but somehow he's the calm in her storm. Fans used to joke about the age gap, but Reggie's proven himself. He's patient, protective, unbothered by the fame. When she told The Real that she even offered him the chance to have a child with another woman, people lost it. They called her desperate, detached, wild. But if you followed her story, it made perfect sense. After years of betrayal and insecurity, offering control was her way of proving she trusted him, that she wouldn't be the one to clip his wings. It wasn't scandal. It was surrender. Their relationship is strange and refreshing all at once. She's the breadwinner. He's the grounding force. She's working nonstop, juggling sets, writing scripts, producing shows, while he keeps the home steady. Together, they've built something rare in Hollywood, a quiet marriage that doesn't depend on attention. And yet, even that peace has its ghosts. Her daughters, Lyric and Jazz, didn't attend the wedding. It wasn't drama exactly. It was timing, circumstances, miscommunication. But the absence hurt, and years later, it still lingers, especially with Jazz, her younger daughter who's coming out on Instagram blindsided Tami. She's admitted it herself. It felt like a slap. Not because Jazz is bisexual, but because she found out with the rest of the world. And in that moment, all her old instincts, the need for control, the discomfort with surprise, came roaring back.
With that specific issue, it was only because I felt like, I come from the era that I come from. I was born in the 1970s, and I came from a specific type of household. You know what I mean? So I was raised a certain type of way.
Now that conflict is back in the spotlight. On Candy Burris's podcast, Tami explained why she didn't want Jazz's girlfriend at her graduation. The internet went nuclear. She said she was protecting her mental health, that she needed to figure out how to be comfortable. People called it biased, even cruel. But if you listen closely, what she's really describing is fear, not of her daughter's identity, but of being the villain again. She's 55, tired of adjusting for other people's expectations, and fiercely protective of her peace. I'm not making myself feel uncomfortable in any phase of my life, she said. I'm not doing it. It sounded harsh, but maybe it was honest. The world sees it as rejection. Tami sees it as self-preservation. And somewhere between those two truths sits a family still trying to find balance. Jazz, to her credit, handled it with grace. She's a recording artist now, openly in love, and while the tension with her mom hasn't vanished, they're navigating it. Tami says she's still learning, still figuring out how to accept fully without pretending it's instant. It's messy, it's public, and it's deeply human. The same people who once mocked her for being too raw on TV are now judging her for being too real about motherhood. That's the paradox of being Tami Roman. When you're honest, they call you problematic. When you're silent, they call you fake. Either way, the judgment never stops. But she keeps showing up, on screen, in interviews, in therapy, trying to rewrite the script the industry forced on her decades ago. Meanwhile, behind the headlines, something interesting is happening.
And I went home that night, and from that moment, every time I looked at myself in the mirror, I could find something wrong with myself. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to deal with it. I just knew, well, I've got to get skinnier. I've got to make myself smaller. I want to be a model. And so I started abusing laxatives. I started not eating. I started throwing up.
The same networks that once painted her as unhinged are now giving her creative control. She's not just hosting Caught in the Act, she's producing it, shaping the narrative, deciding which parts of women's pain make it to air. That's power. The woman who once begged producers to show her side of the story now signs off on final cuts. And she's using it to spotlight education. Terms like gaslighting, trauma bonding, emotional manipulation. Words that reality TV used to exploit are now being defined, discussed, and healed from. It's like she's building a masterclass out of the same chaos that nearly broke her. But don't let the redemption arc fool you. There's tension brewing again, and it's not coming from fans this time. Rumors are swirling that one of her former Basketball Wives castmates has been pitching a tell-all podcast, hinting at what really happened in Tahiti. Insiders say Tami's aware, and she's not pleased. For someone who's spent years reclaiming her image, seeing old wounds reopened by people chasing relevance, that's the kind of betrayal she's not about to let slide twice. And if history tells us anything, is that when Tami Roman decides to talk, she doesn't hold back. The question now is, what happens when the woman who helped build the empire starts tearing down its foundation, one truth at a time? Because from what we're hearing, she's not done talking yet. And here's where it all starts to twist again, because while the public thinks Tami Roman is finally living in peace, people close to her say there's something brewing behind the scenes that could flip her entire narrative.
Am I sick? No, I'm not in terms of my health sick. Am I mentally not okay? Yes, I've been diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder.
Okay.
That is a mental disorder that is not curable. It takes a lot for me to get up every single day and go, Tami, you look great. Tami, you're pretty. Tami, you're beautiful. Tami, you don't need to lose any more weight. Tami, you don't need to do anything. It takes a lot for me to do that.
She's been in meetings, quietly signing on to new projects through Independent Artist Group, the same agency that handles major Hollywood players, and insiders swear she's not just acting anymore. She's planning to produce her own reality docuseries. The working title, we're told, plays off her trademark honesty, something raw that digs into what really went down during her years in the machine. Some believe it's a comeback. Others think it's revenge disguised as reflection. Either way, she's building something. And if her track record tells us anything, Tami never builds quietly for long. It's ironic, really. The same networks that once painted her as unhinged are now asking her to recreate that fire, this time under her own name. Joining IAG marks an exciting new chapter, she told Deadline, and it sounded polished, like any Hollywood statement. But behind the press language, there's a flicker of triumph. Because for years, she was the employee. Now, she's the boss. The same woman who once argued with producers in luxury rentals across LA is now the one sending production notes, approving edits, and signing checks. There's poetic justice in that, but there's also danger. When the architect of chaos gets control of the blueprint, everyone who profited from her pain should probably start checking their emails. At the same time, her personal life keeps feeding the headlines. Every time she tries to close the door on reality television, someone drags her name back into it. Like when she filmed the spin-off special Tami Ever After, the show that was supposed to be her peaceful love story with Reggie Youngblood. What aired looked romantic, funny, chaotic in the way family always is. But what didn't air, sources say, was how rushed the production really was. They got married in secret, in Las Vegas, with no daughters, no parents, barely any friends. Viewers saw laughter. The reality was more complicated. One of her daughters later threw that moment back at her during an argument, saying, "You found out I was in love on Instagram. I found out you were married the same way." That line hit harder than any staged argument ever could. Now that tension still bleeds into everything she does. Every time Jazz posts something about her relationship, the blogs pick it apart.
My mind has such a warped sense of perception. It's a compliment. Tami, you look too frail. Tami, you look like a bobblehead. Tami, you look skinny. In my mind, that goes, well, I'm on the right track. I'm getting skinny. And then I don't know when to stop.
Yeah.
When Tami's interview about not inviting Jazz's partner to graduation went viral, the narrative turned fast, from protecting her peace to rejecting her daughter. It became the new public trial of Tami Roman. She explained her reasoning, but the internet doesn't care about reasoning. It wants blood. She said she needed to be comfortable in that moment, and the world her judgment. They ignored that this was a mother still learning how to love differently, in public, under a microscope. That's the curse of being real on camera. People forget you're still a person off it. Meanwhile, there's another side of Tami that the cameras rarely capture, the one that's deeply spiritual, methodical, even quiet. The same woman who once flipped tables on television now spends mornings journaling, meditating, praying for people who once plotted against her. But we've heard she's also writing. Not just scripts, actual pages about the evolution of fame, betrayal, and the mind games of television. It's rumored to be part memoir, part expose, and people who've seen early drafts say names are being named. If that book ever sees daylight, it won't just trend. It'll detonate, especially since several of the producers she's accused of creating villains for ratings are still working at major networks. Imagine what happens when she decides to print what's been whispered for a decade. Her transformation also brought new allies. When she joined the Ms. Pat show, she found something she'd been missing for years, a set where she was treated as talent, not a target. Co-star Jordan Cooper reportedly told friends he cast her because he saw her ranting in the Bonnet Chronicles and thought, she's a natural comic. That small clip changed her career. From that moment, Tami wasn't just the woman who threw a purse or confronted castmates. She became the actress who could hold her own in a scripted ensemble. And that's the irony that Hollywood can never quite process. The same unfiltered honesty that got her labeled angry on VH1 is now being praised as authentic on BET+. Maybe she didn't change. Maybe the audience finally caught up. Still, there's something about her success that makes people uneasy. It's not that she's thriving. It's how she's doing it. She's controlling the narrative, calling the shots, and Hollywood has never been kind to women who own their power. We're already hearing whispers that certain producers from her Basketball Wives era are furious she's getting credit for building that empire. One insider claims they've been trying to quietly re-edit old footage for reruns, softening how badly the show treated her. Why? Because they know she's about to release her own version of the truth. And when that drops, they'll need plausible deniability. It's reputation cleanup in real time, and the timing couldn't be more suspicious. Behind the curtain, Tami's also taking on something even more personal, mentoring new talent who remind her of herself in the 90s. We're told she's been advising young reality hopefuls about what not to do, teaching them how to protect their image, negotiate fairer contracts, even own partial rights to their likeness. The same woman who once walked into MTV with a VHS tape is now telling 20-year-olds how to survive the machine.
Well, for me, it's very close to home, and it's something that I don't talk about often, so this is like the first time because I feel comfortable enough to talk with you ladies about it, but I suffer from body dysmorphia disorder, and I've been dealing with it since I was 13 years old.
What?
And so a lot of people don't know it's either hereditary or genetic or comes from a negative experience where your self-image has been annihilated.
It's almost karmic. She became the mentor she never had. And that's the most subversive move of all, because every lesson she gives out weakens the system that once fed on her pain. But not everything is polished redemption. There are still moments where Tami's edges show, flashes of that sharp tongue that made her famous. Uncaught in the act. Unfaithful, when she confronts cheaters, we sometimes see the old Tami peek through, the look, the silence before the storm. It's performance and authenticity all at once, and maybe that's why it works. She's not pretending to be healed. She's showing the process of staying human while making a living off heartbreak. She's turned every betrayal into a paycheck, every insult into a segment. And that's not by accident. It's strategy. Right now, the numbers prove it's working. Her shows are renewed, her brand is expanding, and her name is trending again. This time, not for fighting, but for building. Her net worth, now hovering around $4 million, is the kind of slow, steady wealth that comes from control, not chaos. She's acting, producing, hosting, and owning every move. The question isn't whether she'll win, it's who's brave enough to stand next to her when she does. Because for all the talk of sisterhood and solidarity, Hollywood loyalty has an expiration date, and Tami's already lived through the fine print. Now the real twist? We're hearing her next project may bring her face to face with someone from her Basketball Wives past. Someone she hasn't spoken to in years. The producers are being tight-lipped, but the rumor is that it's not a reality show. It's a scripted drama loosely inspired by her own life, and she's considering casting her former rival in it. It sounds insane, but in Tami's world, that's just Tuesday. The woman forgave people who edited her pain for profit. Imagine what she'd do if she could direct them instead. Maybe that's why her story still pulls us in after all these years. It's not just about scandal, it's about survival in plain sight. We watched her get mocked, manipulated, and misunderstood, and somehow she turned it into a masterclass in reinvention.
And for me, when I was 13 years old, I wanted to be a model. You know, we're from New York. I was tall, I was 5'9", I was thin. And I went to this agency and walked in, and that lady ripped me to shreds. I thought I was perfect, 5'9", less than 120 pounds. Assuredly, they're gonna sign me. And she literally stood me in front of a mirror and said, you've got back folds, you've got fat over your knees, you know, you need to do something with your chin.
From the real world to Basketball Wives to hosting her own show, she's proven one brutal truth. You can't cancel someone who owns their chaos. The more they drag her, the higher she climbs. And now, as whispers of that tell all and a new television deal spread, we can't help wondering what she'll reveal next. Will she finally expose the producers who played her? Will she confront the co-stars who ghosted her? Or will she do something even bigger, forgive them all on camera and make peace the new scandal? We'll find out soon enough. Because if there's one thing we've learned from Tami Roman, it's this. When she goes quiet, that's when the real drama's about to drop. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, stay curious, and tell us whose truth do you think the cameras never showed?